Hello one and all, Jasper here, and I've got to be honest with you all, between the books not being finished, the original show being garbage, and the newest show being garbage, I'm losing a lot of faith in this franchise. Lots of people are putting their faith in the Hedge Knight, but come on, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, fool me 3 times, well now you're just taking advantage of the mentally handicapped. I think I need to start trying out other franchises, but surprise surprise, medieval political dramas are not super common, and good ones that hit hard as the original Game of Thrones, even less so. I don't think I'll ever find anything that compares to it. What's that sound?
I've come to assist you in your hour of need.
Who are you?
Well, hello everyone, I'm Serious Trivia. I'm the owner of a YouTube channel by the same name, and the link will of course be down in the description. I'm a self-appointed expert on Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and considering your channel is all about Game of Thrones, I think you will love this story, and out of the kindness of my heart, I will tell you all about it. And here's my clap fee.
Clap fee? You said this was the kindness of your heart.
Yes, but someone needs to pay the bills.
Hold on, I'm not paying anything. I haven't even never heard of Romance of the Three Kingdoms, so how good can it be?
Of course you have. It's one of the most famous stories to ever come out of China.
I thought that was Journey to the West.
That's a close second place.
What about Call to Arms?
You read Call to Arms, but not Romance of the Three Kingdoms?
Nah, I just googled popular Chinese books for the sake of this joke. Only ever knew of Journey to the West and The Art of War.
Ah, Art of War. That is sort of related to romance, but we can talk about that later. I refuse to believe that you never heard of the likes of Guan Yu, the god of war. Or...
Oh, I know about Guan Yu. He's a pretty cool character in Dynasty Warriors. Oh, is that what we're talking about? Hate to break it to you, but while the game is fun, it doesn't strike me as a super interesting story. Also, I'm pretty sure it's a Japanese story. After all, Koei is a Japanese studio that makes the game. Seems very ignorant to just assume it's a Chinese story.
I'm starting to regret responding to your messages.
Ooh, can we talk about Cao Cao?
Oh. Okay, look like I'm gonna have to just educate you on the proper story of Romance of the Three Kingdoms. So here's how we're gonna do it. You'll name a character from Game of Thrones, along with who you think from Romance is similar to. I will correct you and give you an actual character who shares more qualities with them. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Good. So who's first?
Well, a personal favorite of mine, thanks to the great performance of Charles Dance, is Tywin Lannister, a ruthless and brutal man who will do anything and everything to hold on to the power his family has built up. Though despite him being a pretty bad guy, you have to acknowledge that he knows what he's doing and likely is the best person to be in charge of everything. For his counterpart, I would say Cao Cao. Sorry, I mean Cao would be my choice. In previous games, he was definitely the antagonist of the series, though even if they have smoothed off his edges in later installments, he still comes off as a very pragmatic man and competent both politically and in regards to warfare. Even more so in warfare, after all. I don't recall Cao Cao ever losing to a teenager. Either way, I could definitely see him pulling off a red wedding.
Well, I see you're going for a good comparison here. Cao Cao definitely has some similarity with the way how he's controlling his clan and how he schemes. But I think in terms of being a well-established character, Yuan Shao might be a better comp for Tywin here because he comes from a much more renowned clan. So much like how the Lannister is famous in the land, the Yuan clan was quite famous in the late period of the Han Dynasty, having someone who have reached the Grand Excellency position in the last 4 generations of the family. And that's why he got voted as the coalition head. And I think some of the military failures on both sides also kind of match up.
Ah, so politically he is Cao Cao, and militarily he is Yuan Shao, with a silver spoon.
Yeah, that's a fairly reasonable way to put it. Okay, who's next?
Well, I think it would be wrong if I didn't mention Eddard Stark, a good, honorable man who is respected by many for living up exactly to what you hear about him. He sadly dies in the first season and book, so of course I have to talk about, well, Sun Jian, who also dies in the start of the story.
Well, that is a pretty surface understanding of Sun Jian as a character.
But is it inaccurate?
I would say so. I think Edward is sort of your, beacon character with no flaws, someone of high honor. And I wouldn't really compare Sun Jian to that. There were plenty of bad deed that Sun Jian did as he was working his way up, including killing some Han ministers and governors along the way, working under Yuan Shu. And I think the game, in terms of Dynasty Warrior, just cast him as this fatherly figure, which is why you might draw some comparisons and his early death. But I think if you look at the character of the Sun clan, we actually have a character that matches up better with a character from the start, and that would be Sun Ce, the son of Sun Jian, who has a lot in common with Robb Stark.
Oh yeah, he dies to arrows too.
It's more than just that. So for Robb, after his father died, he rallied the Bannermen of the North, had great military success as he was trying to avenge the death of his father, and many of those Bannermen rallied to him, called him the King of the North. I think Sun Ce has a similar career path where he also rallied the old gentry clan as well as the house guests that served his father and rallied an army in the south and worked his way until he created the foundations for what eventually becomes the Kingdom of Wu. And of course, they both eventually die quite early on in their journey before they reach their peak.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Both hot-headed and gifted generals who seem to be on track to take over the world damn near. Only from underhand tactics of assassination are they dealt with. It's kind of scary how close these characters are. I wonder if George R. R. Martin is familiar with Three Kingdoms. Hey, Sun Ce has a younger brother, right?
Yes, Sun Quan.
Is he, by any chance, crippled?
No.
Just checking. Want to know if there were too many similarities.
Yeah, okay. What's our next character?
Well, Peter Baelish is a pretty important character, and I don't think there'll be anyone who is better fit for him than Sima Yi. Both characters just ooze untrustworthiness, and it boggles my mind anyone puts them in positions of power, regardless of how good they are at their job. They would both do anything to be on top, which at least in Sima's case actually works out. Peter, less so. He gets outsmarted by some teenagers and gets his throat slit, but hey, there's still hope for the books.
Dynasty Warriors have really melted your brain to this character. And if we really look at Sima Yi, he's much less so flamboyant about untrustworthiness and calling people imbeciles. And Peter, I think, is someone who's very active in the show, which is why people associate him with this image. Sima Yi is much more toned down. He actually didn't want to work for Cao Cao early on, even faking a pretty severe injury where he ran over his own legs to prevent working for Cao Cao and delaying that relationship. He didn't really start trying to conduct his coup until he was in his later years, past his 70s. So I think he's much more, I guess it would be called someone who can hide their intentions, where Peter feels like he's very outward. And that seems to fit maybe Yuan Shu's character a little bit more. So he's the younger brother of Yuan Shao, born to this esteemed clan. But whereas Yuan Shao was born to a maid, Yuan Shu was born to one of the main wives, but he wasn't the oldest son. So he wasn't going to get the inheritance. But like Peter says, chaos is a ladder. And Yuan Shu eventually worked his way up and was able to do quite a few things where he started to think that he could do a lot more. And when he wanted to put himself in that emperor position, everyone turned against him. And he realized how powerless he really was, which I think, sort of Peter's fate at the very end too.
Dang. I want to say Peter isn't that dumb, but since I really only have the show to work with, my hands are tied.
Complaining about a poorly adapted character. Good to know now you know how I feel.
Oh, come on, that isn't fair. I may not be super knowledgeable about the Three Kingdoms, but I know a few of the badly translated characters, like, Zhu Shu. Man comes off as having the same level of brain function as Hodor.
I think you're talking about Xu Chu, and I definitely can see the comparison, at least in Dynasty Warrior. Both of them feel very much a simpleton, giants of their day, but I think there's actually a historical comparison to Hodor in terms of how they died, sacrificing their life to protect their lord, and that would be Xu Chu's predecessor, Dian Wei, who was the bodyguard of Cao Cao, eventually dying in the Battle of Van Castle, or pretty much the ambush at Van Castle, and then Xu Chu became that bodyguard figure. Now, speaking of bodyguards, I think Xu Chu is actually a good comp to the Mountain, as he's known as one of the greatest warrior of the time, but doesn't talk much, even refusing to acknowledge some of Cao Cao's relative, just trying to show his neutrality and his role as just a simple bodyguard.
Ah, man. I did forget about Dian Wei. Poor guy. He lost his life because Cao Cao couldn't keep it in his pants. You mentioned Gregor Clegane, though, and while in the Game of Thrones world he isn't the strongest warrior alive, but I can't help but compare him to Lu Bu, who seems to be portrayed as the strongest creature alive. I mean, he gives the future god of war swirlies and killed 2 of his adopted dads. He seems like a pretty brutal guy.
Definitely. I think at least in terms of how media portrayal or popular fiction portrayal, Lu Bu is the strongest warrior of the time. Historically speaking, maybe not exactly the case, but nonetheless, he did give off that vibe, even to contemporaries. But ultimately, his career was pretty much a failure as he will find himself getting killed at Sap Heat.
Fascinating. You know, we were able to talk about Cao Cao and Sun Jian, who were sort of the beginning of 2 of the 3 kingdoms. Maybe we should try to fit Liu Bei in. Maybe Jon Snow? He's a bit of a goody two-shoes as well, and I remember Liu Bei being much more cheerful, though I will say, Liu Bei is more cheerful and happy about things compared to them. Both are honorable to a fault, and so many similarities between them.
I think maybe Danny might be a better comp here despite the gender mix.
Seriously? You're comparing a teenage girl with 3 baby nukes to Liu Bei.
I mean, it's 2025. If we ignore the sexes of the character, they both have great plot armor. Outcasts from a ruling clan from before, working her way back to reclaim the throne. I mean, off the back of 3 baby dragons, but Liu Bei was a sandal maker. His family used to be part of the imperial clan, or so he claims, and he worked his way back to become one of the 3 kingdoms.
I don't know. Did Liu Bei ever burn down a city, slaughtering women and children?
No.
Then I prefer Jon. After all, Liu Bei also refused to name himself emperor for the longest of time, just like Jon refused to be king. You could say they both don't want it.
Your ability to analyze character is astounding.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I think that should do it. I have to go. Need to take care of a migraine that's starting to act up since I got here. Maybe that's something I have in common with Cao.
Hey now, in all seriousness, thank you, Serious Trivia. You've been a massive help, and I know if I had done this video on my own, it wouldn't be half as good. And before you go, is there any place you would recommend people start if they want to get into the story and setting?
Well, if you're interested in Romance of the 3 Kingdom, there are 2 TV series, and of course that's same for Game of Thrones fans who don't read the book. The 1994 version of the series is actually quite accurate to the book, something the show couldn't do. And the 2010 version is much more fun. It's good for beginners. If you're into reading, then of course get yourself a good translated copy of Romance of the 3 Kingdom. It is a classic after all.
Alrighty, that sounds perfect to me. I'm definitely going to check out the 1994 show then. Thank you, Serious Trivia. If you want to check out his channel, once again, the link will be down below. Until next time, I hope you all stay safe and have a wonderful day.